September 2nd, 31 BC. Dawn breaks over the Ionian Sea, and two massive fleets face each other across the water. This is it. The moment that will decide the fate of the entire Mediterranean world. 2 men, 1 woman, 1 winner. 1 day. Just 1 single day. That's all it took to change 900 years of history forever. 500 years of the Roman Republic ended. 400 years of empire began. 300 years of the Ptolemaic dynasty erased. To understand how 1 day could reshape nearly a millennium, we need to go back 13 years to the city of Rome. March 15th, 44 BC. The Ides of March. A date that would echo through history for thousands of years. Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in the world, walks into the Senate chamber. 60 senators are waiting for him, daggers hidden beneath their togas. They believe they're saving the Republic from a tyrant who wants to be king. 23 stab wounds. Caesar falls at the foot of Pompey's statue. The conspirators think the Republic is saved. They were wrong. Caesar's death didn't save the Republic. It only triggered another bloody civil war. Caesar left a will. His adopted son Octavian inherited everything. The name, the fortune, the loyalty of the legions. But Mark Antony, Caesar's closest general, refused to accept this. He had fought beside Caesar for a decade, 2 men, both believing they were Caesar's true heir, both willing to destroy Rome to prove it. On November 27th, 43 BC, they made a deal. Octavian, Antony, and Lepidus formed the second triumvirate. Together, they hunted down Caesar's assassins. Brutus and Cassius died at the Battle of Philippi. Justice served. But everyone knew this alliance was temporary. Rome could only have one master. The question was who? They divided the Roman world between them. Octavian took the west, Antony took the wealthy east. Lepidus got Africa, but he was always the weakest. Eventually, Octavian would push him aside entirely. And in the east, Antony was about to meet a woman who would change his destiny forever. She was waiting in Egypt. Queen of the Nile, last of the Ptolemies. Her name was Cleopatra. In the years to come, their love affair would spark a war that would reshape the entire ancient world. But who would win? The answer lies with 3 extraordinary people and 1 battle that decided everything. Cleopatra the 7th, Queen of Egypt. History often paints her as merely a seductress. That's only half the story. She was brilliant. She spoke 9 languages. She understood economics, politics, and the art of survival. Here's something most people don't know. Cleopatra was the only Ptolemaic pharaoh in 300 years who spoke Egyptian. The Ptolemies were Greek. They ruled Egypt for 3 centuries, but never bothered to learn the native language. Cleopatra was different. She connected with her people in ways her ancestors never could. They loved her for it. Before Antony, she had been Julius Caesar's lover. She followed him to Rome. She bore him a son, Caesarion. When Caesar was assassinated, Cleopatra lost her most powerful ally. She needed a new Roman protector, fast. Enter Mark Antony. In autumn of 41 BC, he summoned her to Tarsus, officially to answer for supporting Caesar's killers. But Cleopatra didn't arrive like a defendant. She arrived like a goddess making an entrance. Golden ship, purple sails, silver oars beating in rhythm to flutes, the scent of perfume drifting across the water. Antony was 40 years old, a hardened general. He had seen everything war could offer. Nothing surprised him anymore. The historian Appian wrote that he was conquered instantly, as if he were a teenage boy, not a 40-year-old commander. This was love. But it was also politics, a perfect alliance between Roman military power and Egyptian wealth. Cleopatra needed Rome to protect her throne. Antony needed Egyptian gold to fund his war against Parthia. They had 3 children together, Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus, a royal dynasty in the making. Antony gave Cleopatra Roman territories, Cyprus, Cyrenaica, parts of Syria, gifts that outraged Rome. Meanwhile, in the west, someone was watching every move Antony made, calculating, planning, waiting. Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, Antony's rival. He was young when this all started, barely out of his teens. He was sickly, often ill. He had to withdraw from the Battle of Philippi because he was too sick to fight. And here's the crucial thing. Octavian could not command armies. He was genuinely bad at military strategy. Every significant military victory credited to Octavian was actually won by someone else. Remember that. But Octavian had something Antony lacked: cold political calculation, patience, and absolute ruthlessness. He launched a propaganda war against Antony, brilliant, devastating, and completely one-sided in Rome. Antony was painted as a traitor, a slave to a foreign queen, a man who wanted to move Rome's capital to Alexandria. Then Octavian made his masterstroke. He declared war on Cleopatra, not Antony, pure political genius. This way, it wasn't a Roman civil war. It was Rome defending itself against an aggressive foreign queen. The Senate cheered. The people rallied. Octavian had turned a power struggle into a patriotic crusade. In 32 BC, war was officially declared. 200 senators fled Rome to join Antony in the east. Nearly half the Senate believed in Antony. Rome was truly split in two. The final showdown was coming. But here's what most people don't realize. The man who would decide this war wasn't Octavian or Antony. His name was Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa, a name history has almost forgotten. That's a tragedy. When we talk about Actium, we remember the famous names: Octavian, Antony, Cleopatra, the great dramatic figures. But the person who actually won the battle? That was Agrippa, Octavian's secret weapon. Agrippa came from nothing, a poor family, no famous ancestors. In status-obsessed Rome, that was a death sentence. In Roman society, your family name meant everything. Agrippa had no name, just talent. Raw, extraordinary talent. But he had one thing going for him: a childhood friend named Octavian. They grew up together, studied together. Octavian couldn't fight, Agrippa could. And so they made the perfect team, even if only one got the credit. Every major military victory attributed to Octavian, Agrippa commanded those battles. Now Locus, Illyria, all of them. And Agrippa had invented something that would change naval warfare forever: a weapon called the Harpax. The Harpax was essentially a giant grappling hook launched from a catapult. Simple concept, devastating execution. When it struck an enemy ship, ropes would pull the two vessels together. Then Roman soldiers would board. This turned naval battles into infantry fights, and nobody beat Roman infantry in hand-to-hand combat. With the Harpax, small fast ships could defeat large slow ones. Size became a disadvantage. Now let's look at the forces. Antony had 500 ships. Many were quinqueremes, massive 5-decked warships. Octavian had 400 ships, mostly Liburnians. Smaller, faster, more maneuverable, perfect for the Harpax. Antony had 70,000 infantry, Octavian had 80,000. On paper, they seemed roughly equal. But war isn't fought on paper, and Agrippa understood something Antony didn't: strategy beats numbers. In early 31 BC, Agrippa didn't wait for Antony. He went on the offensive immediately. He captured Methone in the southern Peloponnese. This cut Antony's supply line from Egypt. Then he took the island of Leucas to the north. Another supply route gone. Then Patre, then Corinth. Systematically, methodically, Agrippa was strangling Antony's position. Antony found himself trapped in the Gulf of Ambracia near the promontory of Actium. No food, no supplies, no escape. His army began to starve. Disease swept through the camps. Thousands died without ever seeing the enemy. Morale collapsed. Soldiers deserted in growing numbers. And then came the worst blow of all. Quintus Dellius, one of Antony's trusted generals, defected to Octavian. That happens in wars. But Dellius brought something with him: Antony's complete battle plan. Every detail, every intention, Octavian and Agrippa now knew exactly what Antony planned to do. The battle hadn't started, but Antony had already lost. September 2nd, 31 BC, dawn. The Ionian Sea glitters under the morning sun. Antony has no choice left. Stay in the Gulf and his army starves. He must break out or die. But he doesn't have 500 ships anymore. Disease killed too many sailors, not enough men to row. He orders the unusable ships burned. Flames consume dozens of vessels that once represented his power. Only 250 ships will fight today. Half his original fleet, already a disaster. Then Antony makes a strange decision. He orders the sails kept on the ships. Normally, you remove sails before battle. Sails make ships heavier, harder to maneuver. You only keep them if you're planning to run. Antony was already thinking about escape. Not victory, escape. That tells you his state of mind. The formations take shape. On Octavian's side, Agrippa commands the northern wing, the most dangerous position. Lucius Aruntius holds the center. Octavian himself takes the southern wing, though Agrippa gives the real orders. On Antony's side, he personally commands the northern wing, facing Agrippa directly. The two best admirals head to head. Gaius Sosius commands the southern wing. And behind the main line, Cleopatra waits with 60 Egyptian ships. Antony's plan is simple: smash through the center, break into the open sea, escape to Egypt. But Agrippa knows the plan. He strengthens both wings. He deliberately leaves the center weak. It's a trap. If Antony punches through the center, Agrippa's wings will swing around and encircle him from behind. Around noon, the northern wind picks up. Antony gives the order. His fleet moves forward. The massive warships surge ahead. Quinqueremes cutting through the waves like floating fortresses. But they're slow. Too slow. Agrippa's lighter ships dance around them like wolves circling prey. The Harpax fires. Iron hooks slam into wooden hulls. Ropes go taut. Ships are dragged together. Roman soldiers pour across, swords flash, blood runs. The naval battle becomes a series of brutal boarding actions. Agrippa uses fire. Clay pots filled with burning oil arc through the air and shatter on enemy decks. Antony's ships begin to burn. Men leap into the sea. Some drown in armor, others are pulled under by the weight. More than 5,000 men die or drown in just a few hours. The sea turns red with blood. The battle rages. Neither side gains a clear advantage. It could go either way. And then, in the early afternoon, something happens that no one expected. Something that changes everything. Cleopatra's Egyptian squadron, 60 ships waiting behind the main line, starts to move. They raise their sails. They turn towards the gap in the center. And they run, right through the battle, out toward the open sea, fleeing. To this day, no one knows exactly why Cleopatra fled. Panic? Did she see the battle was lost? Or was this always the plan? Save the treasure ships, save herself, live to fight another day. We'll never know for certain. But what happened next sealed Antony's fate. Antony sees Cleopatra's ship disappearing toward the horizon, the woman he loves leaving him behind. And he does the unthinkable. He abandons his fleet. He chases after her. He leaves his ships. He leaves 70,000 soldiers. He leaves everything he spent years building. The man who once stood beside Caesar, who commanded legions across the world, runs after a woman. His men watch their commander's ship sail away. They can't believe what they're seeing. The effect is immediate and devastating. Morale doesn't just drop, it evaporates completely. Some ships surrender on the spot, others fight on for a few hours before giving up. Agrippa methodically destroys or captures what remains. 300 ships lost in a single day. Antony escapes with 90 ships. He started with 500. 80% of his fleet gone. But the real catastrophe comes after the battle. In the days that follow, something extraordinary happens. Within 1 week, 19 legions defect to Octavian. Over 100,000 soldiers simply walk away. 12,000 cavalry disappear in the night. No battle, no siege. They just leave. Antony's entire land army, the largest force in the eastern Mediterranean, dissolves like morning mist. The man who could have challenged Octavian for control of the world is suddenly left with almost nothing. He flees to Alexandria with Cleopatra. Octavian follows, slowly, confidently, knowing the end is near. Summer 30 BC. Alexandria, the jewel of the ancient world, soon to be a Roman province. Octavian's army surrounds the city. There's nowhere left to run. No more allies, no more hope. Antony tries one last battle. His remaining cavalry charges out. They switch sides immediately. Even his most loyal soldiers abandon him now. There's no point fighting for a man who ran from Actium. Cleopatra retreats to the mausoleum she built for herself. She locks the doors. She spreads a rumor. The rumor says she's dead. She's killed herself rather than be captured. The news reaches Antony. He believes it. Why wouldn't he? Everything else has fallen apart. Why not this too? Mark Antony draws his sword, presses it against his stomach, and pushes. But he doesn't die immediately. He lies there, bleeding, in agony. And then he learns the truth. Cleopatra is alive. The rumor was false. She's waiting in her mausoleum, very much alive. He begs to be taken to her. His servants carry him through the streets of Alexandria. They can't open the doors, so they hoist him up through a window. Dying, bleeding, but still reaching for her. Mark Antony dies in Cleopatra's arms. The great general, the lover, the man who almost ruled the world. Cleopatra tries to negotiate with Octavian. She offers anything. She just wants to save her children. Octavian refuses everything. He wants her alive. He wants to parade her through Rome as a trophy. Cleopatra will not be paraded. She will not be humiliated. She chooses death instead. August 12th, 30 BC. Cleopatra dies, probably from a snake's venom, perhaps from poison. We don't know for sure. 300 years of the Ptolemaic dynasty end with her. A dynasty that began with Alexander's general. Egypt becomes a Roman province. It will remain Roman for the next 700 years. Octavian returns to Rome in triumph. In 27 BC, the Senate gives him a new name, Augustus. He becomes the first emperor of Rome, though he's clever enough never to call himself that. And Agrippa? The man who actually won all those battles? He becomes the second most powerful man in the empire. He builds the Pantheon, he builds aqueducts, he serves faithfully until his death, never asking for the credit he deserved. One battle. One day. September 2nd, 31 BC. 500 years of the Roman Republic ended. 400 years of the Pax Romana began. Antony had more ships, more experienced troops, more resources. He should have won, but he lost. And here's why. War isn't won by numbers alone. It's won by strategy, by logistics, by choosing the right people to trust. Octavian chose Agrippa, a genius, a loyal friend, someone who wanted victory, not glory. Antony chose love. He chose Cleopatra. And when she ran, he ran after her. History doesn't judge whether that was romantic or foolish. It only records that he lost. 2,000 years later, we still remember their names. Antony and Cleopatra, one of history's great love stories. But we often forget who actually won. Agrippa, the man from nowhere who changed the world. And that might be the real lesson of Actium. The people who change history aren't always the ones who get remembered for it.